Thousands of years ago, they were Apollo, Zeus, Ares. Now they are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the other heroes and villains of DC and Marvel Comics. Join us every week as we discuss the legendary stories, characters, concepts, and other parts of comics as we examine the modern pantheon of heroes. Let's get heroic. Welcome to Under Two Capes, the podcast for the comic book fan. Welcome to Under Two Capes. I am Jared.
And I'm Lad.
And first off, Lad sounds a tad robotic. Do you want to explain why, Lad?
Yeah, I'm right now holed up in one of the last fortifications of the human race. We are currently under attack by multiple Terminator species, and there's not much hope left over here where I am.
You're aware that the Terminators are not a species, right?
They've changed. They're coming for us now. But oh, and they're
there's lights.
There we go.
Left.
Everything's
right,
better.
well,
yeah, I'm having crazy problems with lights and internet at my place, so we're just gonna go with it.
All right, great. All right, so we're it's finally time, Lad. It's finally time. Finally time to talk about Doomsday Clock.
Oh man. So the one thing I always gotta ask before we start a comic book is for you to turn it sideways so I can see the thickness of the book. So I know what I'm getting into. Okay, so it's pretty thick this time around, eh?
It's larger than Siege.
Oh boy.
I measured them. All right, but anyway, before we do this, first there are two things that Lad and I have to talk about. So the trailer for the Justice Society movie came out, and I have some more information on there. So Lad and I had originally thought, are they linking this to Darkseid War, to Apocalypse War, where Barry Allen goes back in time to like change everything? No, it turns out he's going back. He's coming from a time before the Justice League.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm like, are they doing Flashpoint? But why is he going back in time? I guess that'll be addressed in the movie. But it could be that this is where he gets the idea for the League. Because here's the thing. If they're keeping this in the same continuity that was started in Man of Tomorrow, they've already established that more than Superman exists because they kind of tease Batman in that movie.
I see. One second. Having slight interruption here. What is it?
But anyway, so...
Okay, there we go.
But anyway, family stuff, right, lad?
What do you think about... What do you think about all that then, eh? What's your take on it?
I mean, it's a great concept because what I was saying is that if this is in the continuity, this would be a great idea. Like Barry Allen comes up with the idea for the League by going back in time and seeing the JSA.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he's going back in time, Wonder Woman would recognize him because she's there.
So is Wonder Woman? Or I was seeing people say maybe it was Hippolyta, but...
All right, so... in the comics, it has been Hippolyta, I think, in the past. I mean, it's kind of vacillated back and forth on whether or not it's Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, or Hippolyta. I think they're going with the Diana Prince because that way they can keep it in like continuity with the movies because the movie Wonder Woman went back into World War I. So it'd be a little bit to synergize with the actual do the live action movie. So, Lad, what do you think?
I think it could be kind of interesting just to see how it goes. It probably won't be too big of a thing. I'm kind of hoping more for just like a wide slate reboot or just kind of like a fresh start. Not necessarily like get rid of everyone's past, but like kind of just just have like a general direction they want to go with the comics that's more established.
It's a good idea. That's a good idea. I definitely agree with you. And I think it'd be also kind of cool if they tried to like mirror like a lot of the stories that we got in the Rebirth era, like even Doomsday Clock, or let's see, what else? Dark Knight's Metal. Mm-hmm. Lana, I have been saying for years that
could be a good one.
Lad and I have been saying for years that metal needs to have a live action movie at the very least.
Mm-hmm. And the
But
best case scenario, since that's the very least, the best case scenario would be if like the entire world actually gets destroyed and taken over by like real life Joker and everything, and the entire multiverse just gets wiped out. That's the best case scenario, right?
okay. So we're already starting with the hot takes, eh, lad?
Yeah, yeah. The best case scenario is that the comic actually comes to real life, and like literally like everything that happens in real life, and it just everything goes bad.
Joker's hand just comes out of the page and grabs you and goes, "Why so serious? Let's put a smile on that face." All right,
That'd be
so there's that.
terrifying.
I'm excited for
Oh
that
boy.
movie. I'm interested to see what they do. The trailer looked great. Now, the second thing I want to discuss before we get to Doomsday Clock is Heroes Reborn. Now, I did a news episode on this, and I want to get Lad's opinion. So basically, what they're doing is they're saying, let's just put the Justice League in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I will say, though, I am glad that we're kind of getting more to the designs for the squadron, because remember, those were originally just, I mean, they first showed up in War of the Realms, and then they were supposed to get their own series in Empire, but that got canceled along with like, they cut that down to the bone in terms of tie-ins. So this is the first time in like a long time, at least I'm aware, that we're getting those designs, like the Wonder Woman ripoff that I keep complaining about.
Yeah.
But I'm like, so basically, Mephisto, who is the Marvel version of the devil, somehow manipulates the reality to to make it so the Avengers never assembled. Turns out the Squadron Supreme are the Earth's premier superheroes, and even like heroes like Kamala Khan changed because she's now a fan of Power Princess and she becomes Girl Power, which I know is a really original name. Miles Morales becomes basically a sort of fan guy of Nighthawk, which is basically Marvel's Batman. And Nova becomes basically a fan of Dr. Spectrum, who is Marvel's version of Lantern. But the thing that I'm not really excited for is so they basically have a Doctor Doom Juggernaut like combination called Dr. Juggernaut, and I'm like, is that the best you can do?
Is that? Oh, I didn't know about that part.
Is that the best you can do? Come on, man.
Yikes.
That's the best you can do for a character name like Dr. Juggernaut. I'm like, come on, guys, this is not. But so, lad, what do you think about basically DC Justice League hanging out in the Marvel universe?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I don't know. It's what it is, I guess.
I mean, could be cool. I said in the news episode, I'm excited for it because I want to see what happens. Because I mean, I'm just wondering why. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have, well, first off, they have to definitively tell us when in the heck this is taking place. Because remember, right now the event going on is King in Black, where Null takes over the world and turns everyone to symbiotes. I don't see this happening right now.
Yeah.
This has to either come before or after. If it comes before, it's awkward because so far they haven't referenced Heroes Reborn.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, when is this? That's the problem with having event, because we saw this when DC was doing death metal, and then they did the show. They did the show. What is it? The comic series Joker War, and everyone's like, wait a second, the universe is destroyed in one event, but in the other one, everything's fine. Well, fine as they can be in Gotham.
How is Gotham needs some serious new management going on?
How
there?
is Gotham not just sunk into the bay at this point?
Yeah, like they need to become a government state at this point.
It's basically New Orleans post Hurricane Katrina. That's pretty much the way to describe Gotham to someone.
Yep.
Or it's like war-torn Syria, because I'm like, obviously Batman is not really doing enough to stop this, because I guarantee you, if Batman started killing people, like maybe only kill the Joker, everyone would just stop. It would stop. It was like, oh no, he kills now. Stop. We don't want to die.
Why can't they arrest Joker? I mean, I know they arrest Joker a lot, but and actually put him in like a real prison that actually, stays locked up.
He pleads insanity.
Yeah, I know. Okay, but mental institution or something that
But
actually.
When are they gonna actually say, no, we're not taking that excuse anymore? You're getting the electric chair. What is up the Gotham like criminal justice system? This guy has committed arguable genocide. When are you gonna murk this guy? Or better yet, here's the way they could do it. Just put him in the woods and tell Red Hood he's in there. Go take him out. You have our full endorsement to go kill this guy. Jason will do it for free. You don't even have to pay him. Wow. You can pay-per-view it. It's just called the Red Hunt. Mm-hmm. All right. So with that, any final thoughts about Heroes Reborn, lad?
No. It seems like that could be pretty cool. Just like a little thing that's gonna be explored. I mean, it'll probably not be too long of like a comic
it's
run.
Only a month.
But yeah, it'll probably be pretty short.
I mean, I'm interested to see what they do. Let me put it this way. I'll check it out and see what it is. You know how rare it is for me to try Marvel comics, but I will say I've been getting really into Marvel comics, particularly Punisher, Venom, Squadron, obviously, and Avengers. So, and the X-Men, of course. So I've been dipping into Marvel, and in fact, we did the monster event that was a siege last week. That was interesting. Oh, by the way, I'm back in the studio because my laptop is fixed.
Yay!
So we're back. All right, going into Doomsday Clock. So Doomsday Clock. This story took like 3 years to come out because of all the delays. Like all of it.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it's written by my boy Goeff Johns. Everyone knows I love that guy. Art by Gary Frank and colors by Brad Anderson. So basically what this story is, it's the crossover between the Watchmen universe and the DC universe. Now you may be wondering what's Watchmen. Watchmen was a comic series and Zack Snyder movie. The comic series came out like in the past, I think like 80s or so. And basically what it was is it's this story where the superheroes where superheroing is illegal. And it's basically trying to answer the question, what would happen if you had these really powerful beings in today's world being the Cold War?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the most like messed up place in the world. You see a little bit of the Watchmen universe in this thing. So just to kind of get you to the point where the story picks up. So in the story, the comedian character, who's basically the Watchmen Punisher, gets killed by one of the Watchmen named Adrian Vett because he's trying to part of his plan is he's trying to make he's trying to create world peace by killing a lot of people. I don't know. To quote Tony Stark, not a good plan. You know I had to say that.
Yep.
But so he basically creates like a monster, an illusionary monster that ends up killing a bunch of people, driving a few of them insane. One of them we will see, and then Dr. Manhattan. So basically, Dr. Manhattan says, "You know what? I'm out. I'm gonna leave," and then he goes to the DC universe. We didn't know at the time, but at this point, he came to the DC world. And lad's frozen again. Okay, you're back. But basically, so this is answering what did Dr. Manhattan do afterwards. Now, another thing, all throughout DC Rebirth, since it began with Rebirth number, I think it's like 1 or so, or 0, by Goeff Johns, it's been teased that, first off, that's the one where Wally West, the white, redheaded Wally West came back. And he said, hey, someone's been screwing around with this universe and took 10 years of our lives from us. Made us completely forget 10 years of our lives. And it's been kind of teased throughout the entire thing that this was Dr. Manhattan, and it was confirmed in the button, which is when the comedian button, it's the Walmart smiley face, shows up in the Batcave. Barry Allen investigated. They find Eobard Thawne, And then Dr. Manhattan like completely melts Eobard Thawne, literally.
That's crazy because we know Eobard. He's crazy powerful.
And he
So
was scared. He came back saying, "I saw God," screaming before he turns into a speed skeleton and dies.
Yeah, that's intense.
He'll show up again because he has so many aberrations. It's like he's the one guy you actually cannot kill.
Yeah, no, yeah, he'll be back.
Which also it kind of indicates how cool of a character Eobard is. So I think he's my favorite Flash bad guy. All right, so Lad, can you see my DC page?
Yes, I can see the comic book.
All right, let's get started. All right, so Doomsday Clock. The end is here. All right, so this is after it became. This story starts off after it became public that Vet. He's basically think of him as Watchman Lex Luthor mixed with the power with the strength of Superman. Strength, not all the powers, just the strength.
I see.
I think he has the strength and stuff. But the point is, so everyone is pissed off at Adrian Vet because he pretty much almost started a nuclear war and almost killed everyone. So there's a big protest in front of it. They find out there's a bunch of news articles talking about Vet's plan and how it fell apart. So, and a U.S. Special Forces team down here is going toward Vet's ice fortress. When they get in there, that they find a brain X-ray and found out he has brain cancer. Which is probably, it kind of hints that he did it. That's why he did it, because he wanted to leave a positive legacy because he knew he had like brain cancer. Now we have Rorschach. Now Rorschach is basically Batman except without all of his technology, in that he's basically a detective. Now here's the thing: at the end of Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan killed Rorschach. Now we're wondering, who is this guy? It'll be revealed later. I'm not revealing it yet. So Rorschach is basically breaking two characters created for the purpose of this story out of prison, Marionette and Mime. Think of Marionette kind of like Harley Quinn, kind of. And Marionette and Mime are like two lovers that are crazy. Marionette's power, well, she doesn't really have per se a superpower. It's just her weapon is like, so like those dolls that you hang around with the little cord.
Yeah.
She uses that as a weapon, and she can like slice off people's fingers and arms and stuff. She basically uses it she basically has piano wire, except razor sharp piano wire. So Mime, he's down here. Mime, first off, does not speak, obviously. And I guess it's not that hard to understand. He mimes everything.
Yeah.
And he just completely tears apart all these prisoners that are in the midst of escaping. And then it's kind of funny is that he basically mimes, he's like, I have to go get my guns. So he opens a prison locker, and it's empty. So he pantomimes a little like he's grabbing all of his guns and stuff. He's even pantomiming holding a gun. And then they escape from prison.
Why is it so easy to escape from prison? Who is running these prisons?
Honestly, I have wondered that myself recently. I'm like, how like inept is the prison system in any superhero universe that whenever you put them in there, less than a week later, they're back on the street? What is going on here?
Like put a microchip on him, at least track him, right?
I know, in a world where you have like gods, we have Superman, you should have a contingency plan. You should have a way to hold these people. At least I'll give this to the CW Flash TV show. They had a pretty effective prison. I'll give them that. So anyway, so they're under in the sewers, and then now here's the thing. Rorschach says, "Hey, I'll help you get your kid back." Now the story goes is that is that actually, it'll be revealed in a later issue, because this is a story that's kind of building. All you have to know is that they're coming with Rorschach because they want to save their kid. Now, they end up in Owlman's, actually in Night Owl's little bat cave. Night Owl was kind of the Watchman, the Watchman Batman who has the tech. So, and then here's Adrian Vett. His call sign is Ozymandias, and he's the mastermind of all this. So his plan is, so he knows which universe Dr. Manhattan went into, and he needs to go into the DC universe. He doesn't know it's the DC universe. Bring back Dr. Manhattan and make him fix the world. Now, a key plot point is that during the Watchmen, at the end of the Watchmen comic, Dr. Manhattan lost touch with what made him human, because you'll see this guy is ridiculously powerful, to the point where he's pretty much blue god.
Avatar people.
Avatar people. That's great. That's great. All right. So once again, their plan is we're going to go into the DC universe. Let's go. And then we cut into the DC universe. Now, wait. Now, a couple things you have to understand. Part of the New 52 is still in canon, in that Superman's parents were killed in a car accident because they were dropping him off at a prom, and he wasn't good. And okay, so two things in the New 52 universe that you have to understand. Number one, the Legion of Superheroes does not exist. And number two, the JSA does not exist.
Oh, okay.
That's important because the JSA are supposed to be the ones that inspire Superman to become a superhero. That doesn't happen. So he doesn't use his powers. He goes they drop him off at a school prom, and he just hangs out there. And then a truck sideswipes the Kent's car and just knocks him into a tree, and they die. Now, that's important because Superman is having that nightmare. And here's the whole story. They're telling him, hey, listen, you have to hide who you are because the world is not ready to accept that you're a superhero. And this is kind of the way the New 52 Superman was, is that this is partly why he felt so isolated and then turned into and then fell into the arms of the Amazon princess, which we all love. But
yeah.
But so he goes there and he feels isolated because, once again, they're telling him don't use your powers, because it's the same thing in Man of Steel, where Pa Kent was trying to keep Clark from using his powers, because he knew that the minute you expose first off, it's you can't put the genie back in the bottle and the government is going to come after you. Which he has a point. He has a very good point there.
Yeah. When Superman originally first debuted, way back, I don't think they really thought about the government surveillance and phone tracking and everything, people recording videos of Superman. But now with New 52 and stuff, they can definitely play that type of storyline.
Let me put it this way: in 1938, when Superman showed up, there was no phone cameras or anything like that. So anyway, here's the scene where the Kents are killed. In other words, Clark is having this nightmare. And then
does it turn out that Bucky actually shows up, and it turns out that it's actually Bucky that did it, not
We're having a lad convergence. We're having a lad convergence. All right. Superman wakes up and Lois is like, Clark, you're kind of floating above the bed. Are you okay? He goes, I think I just had my first nightmare. In other words, Superman has never had a nightmare. All right. And then throughout Clock, they have all these different pieces of bonus material. That's the original Rorschach. He was photographed when he was in prison. So anyway, next issue. I have to get through all the ads. Doomsday Clock number 2. All right. Now, another thing. So Ozymandias also brings with him marionette and mimes costume and weapons, and you'll see why they're kind of can be thought of as analogies to Harley Quinn and kind of the Joker. See, here they are in full regalia.
Okay, that looks pretty cool.
So they're telling a story that so Marionette and Mime are robbing a bank. The attendant hits the panic button. And like, hey, we're gonna kill you. So for first off, here's how like remember I told you that Marionette has like razor piano wire. She straight up chops off this dude's finger.
Oof.
And you can see him right there, like, oh my gosh. So she's about to kill the guy, and then Dr. Manhattan shows up, and this is him, Blue Jesus. There he is.
Whoa, that is very blue. Actually, he looks just like Will Smith Genie almost, except not without the facial hair.
And better looking.
Huh.
So Marionette and Mime are like, okay, so why aren't you good? He's like, you want to kill us, don't you? Well, then kill us. And Manhattan just stares at her. He's hearing the baby's heartbeat because here's an idea of Dr. Manhattan's power. So he can hear the heartbeat. Simultaneously, he's seeing into the future and past at the same time.
That's crazy.
And they'll play with it in a later part of the story. So she's telling the story.
He's insanely powerful then. He just like kind of like
oh
sees
my
reality.
Gosh. Oh yeah. It'll be you get a good indication of his power level in a future issue of this comic that we're going to get to. It's ridiculously cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that Marionette and Mime and Rorschach hop in this owl ship, which is basically the Batwing. Just think about it like that. Mm-hmm. Take off as a nuke is about to land in the city. So the nuke goes off, and then they open the portal to the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so also in the DC universe, Lucius Fox is showing Batman a Rorschach pain because that's what the Rorschach ink blot thing test is to see what you see in weird like shapes and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
In the movie and kind of in the comic, Rorschach's mask will change into different images throughout the whole story. It's really cool. Like
I like that.
The black ink is constantly moving. They never explain how that happens, but I'm just going with
creepy.
it. And it's interesting, but Batman keeps saying, okay, so Lucius Fox shows them one that's very clearly a bat. And then he goes, so what do you see, Mr. Wayne? He's like, a yacht.
I like that.
And then now notice in Gotham, the people are kind of not liking Batman.
Yeah, what gives?
This is kind of taking place in a world where the world has kind of turned against the superheroes, and it'll kind of be explained in a second. Mm-hmm. Actually, let me see. I'm trying to see if they start talking about it here. All right, it's kind of started here, but actually it'll probably be explained here. So anyway, what's kind of cool is that the owl ship comes through the bat signal to the point where Gary Frank drew it. So it looks like the headlights are lighting up the bat eyes.
That's sick. I like
that. That is so. Gary Frank is a fantastic artist. I love this guy's work. So they crash land in the Joker's little playground. Joker shows up later. Now you may be wondering, who is this cat? Well, it serves two purposes. Number one, it's Ozymandias' pet. Number two, so in the original comic, this cat was much larger and it was killed by Dr. Manhattan.
Like an actual cat?
It's not exactly a cat. It's kind of like a lion-like creature. But the point is that, and then Ozymandias clones it and it's still... but it's now attuned to Dr. Manhattan's like energy signature. So he's using it as a compass, like go that way.
That's cool.
So then Rorschach and Ozymandias go to the Gotham Library, where Rorschach starts reading up on the new universe they're in. And because his whole plan is like, let me see if anyone's ever seen a big blue dude. And then all he gets is like references to, first off, the Justice League and Lex Luthor. Rorschach somehow breaks into Wayne Manor. I love this. He eats Bruce. Alfred left Bruce Wayne some pancakes, and Rorschach just eats them.
That's so uncivilized. Breaking into the mansion is one thing, but eating someone's pancakes is unacceptable.
And then he breaks into the Batcave.
Oh man, how do you know it was there?
Detective stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. Hasn't anyone noticed that the Batcave is underneath Wayne Manor yet?
By the way, I have no idea, apparently. All right, so the interesting thing about the clock, the reason why it's behind the clock is that so the way you open the door to the Batcave is you move the clock hands to the exact moment that Martha and Thomas Wayne were shot.
I see.
That's how the clock acts like a door. So he's in there, and then he finds Batman.
He just sees Batman chilling out in there. Batman didn't. How come it didn't trip any alarms? Batman should have been like, "Oh, okay, tripped the alarm. Okay, okay."
You did.
His.
Because I'm pretty sure Batman would have like countermeasures against people coming in.
Yeah. Where's Alfred? Alfred has one job.
He's later. He's sleeping. But this is Adrian Vett meeting Lex Luthor. And he's basically talking about, hey, I kind of need something from your world to save my world because my world is screwed up and I kind of need some help here. Can you help me find a big blue dude?
Yeah.
So, which is so great because Lex Luthor basically does the whole not a great plan line. Because because he goes, let me get this straight. You did this, 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 and this. That's a stupid plan. So Rorschach is in the Batcave, and then suddenly Adrian Vett is Lex Luthor is shot, and who should be shooting him? The comedian from Watchmen.
Oh, man.
And I love this interaction between, if you go to the bottom, between Rorschach and Batman, because Batman's like, you ate my pancakes, and Rorschach's like, yeah, I did. That's the end of that issue. Now, okay, so here's what this is getting into. So in the DC universe at this time, the reason why the world is kind of turned against the superheroes is that there starts to circulate this scientific theory called the Superman theory. And it's the idea of why do most of the world's superheroes why are they American? Now, the theory posits that the government is making superhumans. Like Firestorm, Man-Bat, Killer Frost.
Yeah.
P.S. In this universe, they are.
Wait, they're making them?
Yeah, Man-Bat was a government experiment.
Interesting.
In this universe, apparently. And then, okay, moving on. This was also when DC did another editorial initiative. Not going to get into. All right, so back to here. So we have, so here's what happened in the actual Watchmen comic. So Ozymandias breaks into the comedian's apartment and throws him out the window, and then he dies. Now, he was supposed to die, but turns out Dr. Manhattan teleported him into the DC universe, and that's why he's here right before he hit the ground.
Okay, I see.
That's why he's alive. It was a real shock because I'm like, did you go splat?
Right.
Because I've never read the comic, but I saw the movie. The movie was great. So Ozymandias gets into a fight with the comedian. The comedian tries to throw Ozymandias out the window, but Ozymandias just jumps out and does a superhero landing, basically. No, and then Batman is talking to Rorschach, and the Rorschach's like, the whole story's in my journal. Please read this. And then Batman's like, okay.
How come Batman hasn't attacked him?
Because Rorschach hasn't attacked Batman.
I guess.
It's because I get the feeling that unless you attack Batman, Batman won't attack you.
I see. And Batman likes the detective thing, I guess. He's like, all right, you're cool.
I have to find. It's pretty obvious this guy isn't here to kill me, so I guess I might as well learn what I can from this dude. So Marionette and Mime go out and start hanging out in Gotham. So Batman is like is reading it and is reading Rorschach's journal, and he goes, okay, so why don't you just go upstairs and like hang out in the what is it, in the manor. So also watching TV is a member of the Legion of Superheroes from the future, but he's trapped in the past. In other words, there are these small anachronisms, like things that shouldn't exist because the Legion does not exist. I just explained that.
Right.
So they kind of are like time anachronisms. And the minute you say, "Who are you?" they go away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, like, when Wally West came back in the first Rebirth comic, he went to Barry Allen. He's like, "Hey, do you know who I am?" And then Barry Allen's like, "Of course I know you, Wally," because it provided the emotional anchor for him to stay.
Hmm.
So anyway, and this guy's name is Johnny Lightning. So now here's the new Rorschach. His name is Reggie.
I see.
His origins are going to be discussed later on in the story. So he washes, he starts washing, but he's not well because he's cleaning his scalp, but then he scrubs it so much it starts to bleed.
Oof.
Yeah, these people are not well.
I feel like a lot of people in DC universe need like a psychologist, like basically everybody.
Yeah, everyone's like crazy in that universe.
Yo, yeah, seriously, they need some mental health.
So Marionette goes into a bar, and Joker go all right. So two clowns walk into a bar, and it turns out it's a bar run by the Joker gang. Oh, by the way, throughout the story, it'll cut to scenes. So this black and white murder scene, this is not like actually happening. It's scenes from a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interspersed throughout the story. So anyway, the two clowns are in the bar. It's a Joker Club bar. And proceed. So it turns out in this universe, when mimes a gun, he's actually firing a gun, as you can see here.
Oh wow!
Shoots
Yeah.
and you see you can kind of see the outline of one right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to work and start destroying all these people. And then you see this is the result of this whole rampage.
Oof! Yikes! That's a lot.
Back in here, so we're still watching the old movie. We have Johnny Thunder watching the old movie, and he's like, "I gotta find." His whole plan is, "I have to find the Legion. I have to find the Lantern." In other words, he's trying to find Alan
That
Scott.
sounds kind of.
I remember Alan Scott. And then okay, so here's Reggie. So here's what drove Reggie crazy. So what Vet did is he basically conjured up this image of this creature, and here's the image of the creature. He basically faked an alien invasion to make the people of the world come together and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and all that. So Batman shows up and he goes, "I know where Dr. Manhattan is." He takes Rorschach to Arkham Asylum and proceeds to lock him in the cell. He's like, "You belong here."
Why?
He thinks he's crazy.
That's so mean.
I know. So anyway,
Also, talk about the easiest capture that Batman's ever had.
I know, right? All he had to do was say, "Hey, I know where your thing is. It's in that suspiciously dark cell."
Yeah.
Ignore the fact that we're in an insane asylum that our good friend Manhattan could easily get out. So anyway, here's an image. So the main character in the movie that's being interspersed is Carver Coleman. He's an actor that his career was like cut short. I think he even committed suicide because he was gay in like 1950s America. That should be all you have to hear from that.
Okay, wait a second. Wait, is this it? Wait, I'm getting confused.
The movie scenes are taking place in like the 50s.
Oh, okay.
It kind of interspersed. That's why it's drawn in black and white.
I see.
By the way, here's DC's version of Spider-Man, basically. His power is that he's able to travel into the dark multiverse at will. So I'm like, why would you ever travel to the dark multiverse?
That's kind of
intentionally.
That's not a good power.
Why? That is the worst decision you could make right now. All right, so in Arkham Asylum, Reggie is getting meals, and he's next to him is someone named I think his name is Zebra. I mean, it's a guy that looks a little like a zebra, but it's Gotham, so it probably is someone just dressed like a zebra. So anyway, It's Reggie has flashbacks, and then he's like, and then I'm just going through this. It's a long story, so I kind of have to like speed through all the non-important parts. So Reggie is brought in front of an asylum guy. And but by the way, Reggie is very obviously crazy because he's seeing the monster's eye in the therapist's head.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah,
obviously crazy. In
that
fact,
is not normal.
after the whole incident with Ozymandias, he went crazy.
Okay.
So he's here. So this guy's name is Moth. I think. Oh no, actually, it's Mothman. And his escape plan is, I was gonna jump off and fly. So he has a glider, and he just goes. See right there.
Yep.
He just glides off. Anyway, it's more about so Mothman is repicked up. So Jane Doe, she's another Legion of Superhero person. By the way, you can see Mr. Freeze, Dent.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's putting in all those little Easter eggs. So it's once again, Jane Doe is I forget which Legion of Superhero person she is, but it'll be revealed later. So Reggie gets into another fight. Actually, what he's flashing back to is he was in the asylum, also in the Watchmen universe, and he's flashing to his time there. He's reading Kovacs' journal. Kovacs was the original Rorschach.
I see.
Now, I'm going to tip you off to how he's linked to Rorschach. So when Rorschach is brought into prison, Reggie's father, who's a prison psychologist, is sent in to psychoanalyze him. The father goes crazy and dies. Because Rorschach is not demented. So anyway, they start a fire to escape, and then the Mothman just walks into the fire because he's like, I'm a moth, I have to go into the fire, I guess.
Okay.
Once again,
These
it's Gotham.
Watchmen people. Oh no, okay, no, this is Gotham.
I think this is Gotham. I'm pretty sure it's Gotham. But the point is, superhero people in the DC, anything associated with DC, are freaking nuts.
Yeah.
So anyway, oh yeah, that was it. That was in the Watchmen universe, but still, everyone's crazy. But anyway, so he ends up in Ozymandias's little sky fortress, snowy fortress, and so he says, "Hey, listen, I have cancer, and I kind of wanna." He's like, "This is all my fault. I failed this. My plan was stupid. We have to go get Dr. Manhattan and make everything better again."
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I'm trying to find what exactly is his thing in pictures. But all right, wait. So this is basically the origin of that whole plan. Now, and then we see a moth or a fly crashing into a blue light, and that's kind of indicative of what's going to happen later in the story. I'm just skipping through this so that we can get to the next issue. All right, next issue. Doomsday Clock number 5 of 12. So we're almost halfway done. Because I'm going by this kind of fast-ish like I normally do, because this has effects on the DC continuity and the multiverse that I want to talk about. So they're examining Vet. He's in the hospital. He escapes. And he's seeing news about all the superheroes. Like you have Hawk and Dove on TV. You have, okay, so this guy is basically the Russian version of Firestorm. And in Russia, all the superheroes do the government's bidding.
Let's see.
Yeah, you see, they actually drew Vladimir Putin. He's in this. And he's like, okay, so because basically this is kind of like a Cold War of superheroes. He's going, hey, US, we have our own heroes right here. We have the Russian League. So here's I guess the movie, and then here's Johnny Thunder of the Legion. He's going to where the Alan Scott lantern is supposed to be at this point in time. And this is Batman going to meet Ozymandias. Here is the comedian.
I gotta jump out for 1 second. I'm just gonna turn my camera off. I'll be back in a second though. I gotta take care of something real quick. Just continue.
All right. So anyway, now, and he has this great line where he goes, so Adrian Vett, I've read about you. So, and I like how this is indicative of like, of how Batman always ends up like, you always walk into Batman, like he's always in the room that you're going to. I love when they write him like this. Then you have the comedian. The comedian, once again, is like the Punisher of Watchmen in that he just kills people wantingly. And he's like one of let me put this way, he's no superhero. He's definitely no superhero. So anyway, we cut back to the, I'm trying to like delay this so I can get back. So we cut back to Marionette and Mime, pun intended. They're like, hey, we're trying to find the Joker. So they're like, they're interrogating all these goons, and he's like, he does have a plan, and what you have to do is go to that bat signal over there. So Adrian, so as I was saying, lad, Marionette and Mime. So we cut to Marionette and Mime, pun intended, and they're interrogating a Joker goon, and he goes, "Hey, we want to find the Joker," and the goon's like, "Just go where the bat signal is." Meanwhile, Vett is taking Batman to where off on a little adventure. And then you see Firestorm, and you see Frost. Killer Frost, and okay, so Metamorpho, Man-Bat, Clayface, and Frost and Firestorm are made in the USA. Now, what's interesting is that, so you also have this image of, okay, so here's American journalist Jack Ryder. He's about to be executed by, I guess, ISIS. And all of a sudden, who should save him? We don't get to see yet. I mean, you kind of get an indication with the lightning, but spoiler alert, it's not any of the Flashes. That's all I'm going to say there.
Oh, okay.
But it is the character that's going to play a key role here. So we cut to Lois Lane, who also goes to visit Lex Luthor, and goes, "What was the deal with that guy trying to kill you?" And he's like, "Oh, don't you want to know?" So anyway, she's trying to see if Lex Luthor had anything to do with the Superman theory, because it seems if it's a way to discredit like Superman, it seems like something that Lex Luthor would be involved in. Cut to Johnny Thunder, and he arrives at the steel mill, where he runs into a bunch of drug addicts, because I guess, and then let's see. Okay, so it turns out who had saved Jack Ryder was Black Adam, and he goes, "Hey, listen. Any metahuman, I don't care where you're from, you can come hang out in Kahndaq. It's a safe haven for superhumans."
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, I know, it is nice. And then so Adrian Vett kind of goes into does some maneuvers in the owl ship in order to throw Batman out. So Batman falls out, lands in the crowd. Actually, he doesn't land in the crowd. He does. He's kind of messed up with the crowd. Johnny Thunder grabs that lantern. He gets almost attacked, but then Rorschach and I'm trying to remember what her name is, and Jane Doe show up, and they're like, "Hey, we got you." So then Marionette and Mime meet the Joker, who has captured Batman. Oh, and by the way, so when Rorschach broke out of Arkham Asylum, he saved Jane Doe. That's how she got out. I kind of skipped through that.
Okay, there we go.
I'm trying to see. Was that talked about in this comic or?
Man, everything's so brutal in this comic. Why is everything so dark? You sure you're not from the DC universe?
That was easily one of the best Deadpool lines of all time. And there are a lot. Zip it, Thanos. All right, so next issue. Oh, so this is also showing some of the superhumans who are made by the government, like Lady Clayface,
Mm-hmm.
Killer Frost, Man Bat, Metamorpho, Dr. Dread, apparently. One of Metamorpho's Rose Gallery, Rex Wade's childhood friend, recruited as part of the supervillain. Oh, he's a chemical weapon. Wait. Stingery? I have no idea. Element Girl. The point is that they have a lot of different apparent metahumans made by the government.
Mm-hmm.
And here's like they're showing about how the arms race is like heating up because you got like, hey, Geoforce. We got the new Superman, Kong Keenan from China. Knights Incorporated.
Oh wow.
And then Posar is basically the Russian Firestorm. Just think of him like that. And then the Justice League Europe, and then Seraph. I have no idea who a lot of these characters are. Moving on, and here's Black Adam, and they're saying, hey, you're basically a dictator, kind of like that. And so they're saying, okay, so Black Adam, so he's offering metahuman sanctuary, but wasn't he a supervillain at one point?
Yeah, maybe.
Black Adam has always been one of those characters that kind of vacillated between good and evil, depending on the writer and the story.
Yeah, I kind of get confused. I'm never quite sure, actually.
It's looking like, I mean, he's in the JSA movie, which actually is, well, not that movie, the live action Black Adam movie that's going to feature the JSA.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so we see a little bit of Marionette's origin. Her father made those marionette dolls. That's where she got the whole idea. And her favorite one was the one she modeled her costume off of.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so Joker brings Batman to this gathering of guys, of supervillains, and this is also her meeting Mime, who doesn't speak again. So also it's kind of funny.
Thing.
Some Dr. Freeze, they run into some thugs of Dr. Freeze, and then they'll go, screw it. Can we join you guys? Like, great. Nice loyalty.
Yeah.
And then Marionette just pokes their eyes out.
Oof.
Yeah, these guys are really brutal. So anyway, this is showing Mime helping her when she's being picked on by kids. But anyway, they get into this gathering. You have like the Riddler, Giganta. Let me see. Is that Black Hand? Let me see. Who else? Scarecrow, I see. Two-Face. It's basically a gathering of like all the supervillains. You got the Squad here. You got the Flash Rogues, Dr. Savannah. I have no idea who this guy is. He's not a Dr. Manhattan with hair. He just looks like that. Oh, you also have the Court of Owls.
There you go. Yeah, that's one too.
So anyway, so as it turns out, so there's this great scene. So it looks like it's like this big gathering, and all of a sudden, like this dude's head explodes, and then like, what happened?
Is that normal?
Like, well, it is when he's shot with a sniper rifle. There's a comedian, and he just goes full Punisher. Like he's headshotting people left and right.
Yeah. Whoa.
It's so he's being shot by Giganta. He kneecaps Riddler. But I love this image of him coming out of the fire. That's so good. And then so basically, Marionette's father's origin is that he's one of the her father's an immigrant that was brought over by a crime lord, and he's basically saying, you pay us for protection and everything, and the cops are corrupt in this particular town, as they always are in superhero towns.
Yeah.
And the cops basically beat him up because he didn't have the money to pay, and then eventually he hangs himself.
Whoa.
By the marionette cords.
Are like Watchmen type characters.
This is in the Watchmen verse, yeah. Up, Lad froze again. All right, so in the meantime, while Lad fixes his internet, we will also talk about, so yeah, the Watchmen universe is very dark. Okay, the Lad's back. It's extremely dark.
There we go. I think my is my interconnection a little better now?
Yeah, you're there. All right, so it turns so Marionette just murks the two cops that were trying to kill her father.
Mm-hmm.
Then they escape. But by the way, they are a couple, as is established here. They do coupley things. I'm kind of skipping through. Oh, and then comedian gets hand buzzed by the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of that. Okay, so this guy. Okay, so the blue guy with the orange hair was named Typhoon. Apparently, he makes typhoons. That's very original.
At least that's kind of cool.
Sandstorm, Giganta, Creeper. So this is basically they're talking about all the superheroes that were apparently made by the government. Next issue. So this is where stuff starts to really pick up. Because admittedly, this story is a very slow burn.
I thought there was more Flash going on in it with Flash and Batman detective stuff than it's
that
actually
was only in the button.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's what I was kind of interested in it from that. I thought that was kind of cool, but now it seems more of like it's almost more of a Watchmen story, which I'm not.
It's kind of a Watchmen story, really. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really also it's a Dr. Manhattan and a Superman story when it comes down to it. Anyway, we're seeing conduct, and there's like and it's showing how nice everything is. Everyone's like very happy here, and then they show Superman saving everyone, and Superman's the one hero that everyone loves because hey, he saves everyone. He's not like only saving Americans.
Yeah.
So then they're interrogating the comedian, and then Batman shows up.
All right, finally, Batman can teach these guys a lesson.
Look at the Joker. He has a flamethrower between his legs. That's so Joker. But then suddenly, the cat starts to, the Dr. Manhattan compass starts to glow blue. You may be wondering why.
Is that I like that little, oh boy. Oh no.
Look who shows up.
Someone who forgot his clothes, apparently.
Yeah, I'm trying to yeah. All right, there you go. I'll do that. All right, so Osman is like, I just want to talk to you. Can you please help me? And he's like, okay, let's talk. So anyway, he's saying, well, listen, man, I need you to help me save the world. And then Dr. Manhattan's like, no, I'm in the middle of something. And then also he finds out, okay, so he finds out that, so I love this because Marionette's he goes to Marionette and he goes, yeah, I saved your kid and your other child's gonna be okay. And he's like, what other child? He's like, oh yeah, you're pregnant again.
No.
And so it's kind of funny is that Dr. Manhattan also reveals to Rorschach that Ozymandias was faking his cancer diagnosis.
Oh.
Like somehow he can forge a brain scan.
Yeah, I guess so.
So then Ozymandias, so then Dr. Manhattan shows him Gotham again, comes back and he goes, hey, listen, and it sends them all back and says, adios, I'll see you guys later. So we also cut to, let's see. Okay, so Dr. Manhattan, so remember I told you he could see the future. All he could see, because there's interference, is that he just sees Superman reeling up as if to punch him, and then reality ends. That's all he sees.
Oh boy, that's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. It's just showing him cloning the little animal. This is a Green Lantern advertisement going on to number 8. All right. Moving on to number 8. Is Adrian Veidt in the White House? Kind of looks like it. Oh, yeah, he's in the White House. Wow.
Oh, okay.
He's in the Oval Office. That's that seal.
Huh.
I guess the cat can teleport, I guess. So so on the TV, Firestorm is in Russia in combat with someone. And that's very bad because he's an American superhero fighting in Russia. That doesn't really look that good.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Perry White comes out and goes, hey, folks, who wants to go to Moscow? And Clark and Lois just raise their hand like, we do.
I guess so.
So Superman shows up. Apparently there's this shadow woman that can pass through people, and that's painful. So Firestorm, like, gets mobbed by a crowd. He lets out a blast that turns everyone into glass.
What? Why would Firestorm do that, though?
He kind of doesn't have full control over his powers.
I see.
So Firestorm, like, gets out of there, and then Superman leaves and goes to Conduct to talk to Black Adam. And then he goes, hey, listen, man, so let me... So he goes to talk to Black Adam, and he's like, hey, listen, man, I just want to talk to... I heard the same rumors that you do, the Firestorm flight. So, okay, so Superman is addressing a rumor that after the glassing incident, I'm going to call it that, Firestorm fled to Conduct for Sanctuary because he saw Black Adam's ad on TV. Black Adam's like, it's not here. So Superman goes after Firestorm. But before he leaves, Black Adam's like, tell him he's welcome in Conduct.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of funny is Lois Lane finds this USB drive sent to her by Lex Luthor that contains an American TV ad from the 50s for the Justice Society. And she goes, the who?
Uh-oh.
What this is showing is that there are some sort of some chronal and like universal aberrations throughout the universe, things that shouldn't exist but do, like this TV ad.
That's
establishes that later. So Superman finds Firestorm in this Russian house, and he's trying to use his powers to like to like turn this kid back into a kid, not a glass statue. And Superman basically has to like inspire him to use his powers properly, and he ends up being able to do that. So then Firestorm's like, hey, we can go do this. Let's go save everyone. So they fly off, and by the way, it's Putin. Comic Putin. So then Superman shows up and he goes, hey, listen, this was all a mistake. I need you guys to trust me. Firestorm is going to fix this. And Batman is flying to Russia and he's saying, do not get involved. Do not get involved because it's going to look like you're picking a side. Do not get involved because this is really bad if you do that. So what happens is...
Is that Putin?
Yeah, that is Vladimir Putin. Firestorm comes back. Everyone's scared and they start shooting at... And the guards just open fire.
Makes sense.
And they start breaking the statues here. In other words, killing the people. So he's like, no, you're killing them. Stop it. Stop it. Don't do this. Don't do this. And then Superman punches a Russian tank. And that doesn't look good for someone that's supposed to be neutral in all world's conflicts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even Lois is like, my God, Clark. And Batman's like, damn it. And then Firestorm lets off another nuclear blast.
What is going on here?
Now, this is interesting because actually what it is, it's there's some other hands at work here. I'm just going to say that. So the nuclear so we cut to in the beginning of this. Wait, why is this? I have to restart this issue. Hang on. Technical difficulties, folks. This is number 10. I have to go to Seymour. By the way, you guys get to see the awesome new DC Universe Infinite little interface.
Are we sponsored yet?
No, I wish. That'd be so dope. Sponsored by DC Comics. I would take that in a second.
And Mountain Dew.
Can you imagine? All right, so hang on. I'm trying to get the interface where I can go to the beginning of the comic. Here we go. All right. Guys saw a little bit of some spoilers. But anyway. So Dr. Manhattan sets up shop at Mars, which is where he had his base in the original Watchmen comic.
Yeah, that's a
so
good
who's
spot.
coming? So the Justice League tracks the signature of whatever caused Firestorm to blow up to Dr. Manhattan. They don't know it's Dr. Manhattan, but they just track it to Mars. So they send, because they think it's really powerful, every single superhero.
Oh.
Like every single one. You got Hawkman, Hawkwoman, Big Barda, Mr. Miracle, the Atom, Donna Troy, Starfire, Green Lanterns, Cyborg, the Flash, Martian Manhunter, Mara. I have no idea who this is. Aquaman, Green Arrow and Black Canary, Supergirl, Steel, Platinum and Tin, and whoever the hell that is. The Justice League Dark, the Doom Patrol. It's like the Bat Family, the Shazam family, and the Question family, I guess.
Wait, what's Red Hood? Red Hood just vibes with the Bat family now?
Of course. Well, they're kind of like, all hands on deck. We need everyone here. This is going to have very big consequences.
This is all just because of the Firestorm explosion.
Yeah, because they track it to Mars, and I guess they figure because there's like, it was someone like so powerful, we need everyone on deck.
Wow. So why can't we just call everyone for every bad thing that happens? Like when Joker takes over Gotham again, and we just call everyone and like, hey, can we just fix this real quick?
Honestly,
Black Adam.
Hearing the Joker War storyline, we're just going to go off on a tangent real quick, made me think, at what point does Batman decide, I'm just going to call in the Justice League at this point? I can't do this.
Like, okay.
I know it's supposed to be a Batman story, but come on, man. At this point, call in. I mean, he calls in the Bat family later on in the story, but I'm like, I guarantee you call in like Superman and Wonder Woman, the problem's over in like 30 seconds. So anyway, before they left, though, the League had taken Superman's body and brought him to the Hall of Justice. And there's a crowd of protesters because they feel betrayed by Superman, because remember, he's supposed to be like a mediator, and everyone saw him as like a neutral party. Nope, he just showed his bias towards superhumans. Remember, people don't, and by the way, this is where it's basically confirmed that Firestorm was made by the US government. It'll be explained later how that happened. And then, so at the UN, Wonder Woman is set to return to man's world. So it turns out she had left and went back to Themyscira like a year earlier, earlier the year the story is taking place. We don't necessarily know why, but she's coming back to give a statement to the UN. And by the way, actually, I'll explain later. So anyway, Firestorm wakes up. He and Professor Stein are not like linked. So he wakes up and he goes, "Okay, guys." He goes, "Where are we? It looks kind of like the Justice League headquarters." And they ends up in a javelin in space. And he's like, "Or not." And all these superheroes are going to Mars. And so you have all the lanterns. My Lady Cruz, one of my favorite lanterns. All the superheroes emerge from their ships. Actually, first what the lanterns do is they use their rings to create a hole, a dome around Mars, and Firestorm makes oxygen. In other words, puts oxygen in the atmosphere of Mars so the other heroes can come out of their ships and breathe.
Sweet. Yeah, I was literally just about to say, and all the superheroes died because
it depressurizes immediately, and they all get sucked into the vacuum of space.
It's like, whoops.
The end.
The end.
All right, so look at all these superheroes on Mars.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool looking.
And they find Manhattan, and he goes, "Okay, guys." So, and the guy Gardner conjures up all the images of like all the villains they've ever fought. And he's like, "You think you're powerful? We defeated Darkseid, the Anti-Monitor, Doomsday, Brainiac, Sinestro," and then Gardner just socks them.
Man,
Manhattan teleports away, grabs Guy Gardner's ring and takes it off, and basically destroys it.
Oh boy.
That's so powerful, is he? Because he wants it to look at it. He's like, a ring powered by willpower. Then everyone just goes nuts, goes ham on him. He's hit with magic. And he's like, is that the best you can do? By the way, it's not really magic. It's just like science.
What did he say? I must
Oh, actually, what magic is, by the way, dude, in the DC universe, is it's the residual for when the universe was created. The residual energy from the universe was created.
Huh.
So that's essentially what magic is. And he just freaking blasts everyone away.
I've
And
come
then
in peace.
here's Lex Luthor going, hey, listen, Lois, you have to come with me. I have something to show you. This is really important. And this could really influence what's going to happen in the story. So anyway,
Is Lex good or bad, or is he just Lex like usual?
I think he's just Lex, but I also think he likes to be the smartest person in the universe, and all the Watchmen people are smarter than him, probably.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants them gone. And Manhattan just completely destroys every... So anyway, here's where we find out what happened to Firestorm. So it turns out, at a protest for nuclear energy, Ronnie Raymond was... happened to be in the same vicinity as the Doctor, and Dr. Stein was like, yes, of course, I groomed him to be a superhero at this point. So Dr. Stein was in on it.
Whoa.
The other half of him was in on it to become a superhero, and then now again, the Justice League do their best, but I love the coloring of this image where everyone just lets loose everything they've got. Even Captain Atom just blasts Manhattan with energy. And then there's an explosion. Wonder Woman shows up and he goes, today we can begin to heal. We have to come together. Stop being divided. And then look what happens to Dr. Manhattan. He just rematerializes.
So what did they do to him? They just obliterated him for a second?
They thought they obliterated him, but he's like, nope. And then as she's giving the UN meeting, who should show up? But Black Adam and his crew, he's like, we're going to go take over.
Oh, Giganta. I haven't seen her since the Super Friends.
And even Wonder Woman's like, what are you doing? And she's like, yeah, I'm making a move.
Oh, boy.
The Firestorm file. Now we're getting into the next part of the story. We are on number 10 of 12. By the way, reading All-Star Comics. Now, here's the interesting part. This is an actual cover from All-Star Comics, except obviously they added in Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
But I like how they bring that. I love when they do that. That's great. So we're seeing another scene from the movie that Carver Coleman's in that keeps being piped into the story because it's important. So it's this whole thing where basically he's being blackmailed by his mom because she said either I think it's either you make money or I'll tell everyone you're gay.
Mm-hmm.
And back during this time period when the movie's being made, it's like a career ender.
Oh, okay. Now we flash back into another time point, right? This is
early 1900s, or 1950s era, I think.
I see.
And then they're showing the parts of the movie. So, and we're seeing Dr. Manhattan kind of reflect on what happened in the Watchmen universe. He goes into, he visits Carver Coleman, and that starts off another story here. And then Hal Jordan wakes up on Mars and he goes, hey, listen, man, I'm going to call for backup. The Corps will come here. And then Manhattan's like, no. And you see him, he's like multiple places at once holding all these people.
Mm-hmm.
And then he visits Carver Coleman. And what Manhattan does is he basically gives Carver career advice. Like, yes, sign into that movie. It'll be a big hit. Don't do that movie. Do this, do this, do this. And Carver becomes super successful.
I see.
You see, as it goes by, the time advances from 38 to 39. He goes, hey, man, yeah, you're right. I got the part. It's really great.
I like how just Manhattan's just chilling at the, little diner, I guess.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm just here. So what were you going to ask, lad?
No, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. Apparently, I can read your mind.
Yep.
And you see, he's going throughout the time. He gets more successful. And then I won't be on this world a year from now. So that's what Manhattan does. All of a sudden, he just goes, "You won't be on this earth a year from now." Can you imagine that? And then he just yeets out.
Oh man.
And then Manhattan goes to this site. Now, this is really important. This is the site where Superman in Action Comics #1 lifted the car.
Oh, okay.
They're like, wait, a man did this? It's the first appearance of Superman, and Manhattan's like, he sees the world with Superman, and this is where he starts to play around with the world. He goes back to when Alan Scott became Green Lantern because he was a train engineer. The train was going to derail. Alan Scott grabbed the lantern, became Green Lantern, and escaped. He goes through all of the different members of the Legion. He cuts to a meeting of the Legion of Superheroes, and they're like, and they're waiting for Superman to show up because Superman was, I think, one of the original members of the Legion. Mm-hmm. And then, but then Manhattan changes it to where it starts to sort of indicate that he played around with the whole, what is it? With the whole universe. And we also cut to Manhattan. He goes back to Carver Coleman. He's like, "Hey, Carver, have you ever heard of Superman?" And he goes, "Well, Superman? No. Mm-hmm. No, I haven't. I think Carver Coleman's in the Watchmen universe, by the way. I think. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to remember this. But anyway, Manhattan goes to Kansas and sees the moment when Clark Kent crashed. The moment he found out he was Superman. This is New 52, by the way. Mm-hmm. I'm saying this because this is a important plot point. He's seeing all the different variations of time. Okay, so he sees this. He sees like the Superman being brought to the Legion of Superheroes. In other words, he cuts to the different time periods because he's kind of experimenting. He's seeing what happens if I change this. What happens if I change this? Mm-hmm. So now what Manhattan does, this small move changes everything. He moves the lantern away from 10 inches away from Alan Scott's hand, and Alan Scott does not become a Green Lantern. He dies, and the Legion and the Justice Society is never formed. Oh, now we're seeing the New 52 Superman origin, where the Thing crashes, Clark Kent's parents die, and then we get like the New 52 Superman. He's in the t-shirt and jeans, and then he has the Kryptonian armor, which honestly is one of my favorite Superman designs of all time. I know I'm going to take heat for that because a lot of people didn't like that. Well, first off, that's kind of funny. It was only recently that they brought back the Superman underwear. That was a 2018 thing.
I'm glad they brought that back.
I'm not. It looks stupid. Because no one wears their underwear on the outside, guys.
Is Cavill going to start wearing his underwear on the outside for the
No. In fact, Snyder said he had he tried that design, but he said it just looks stupid.
Wow.
By the way, here's fan. Wally West. Here's Wally West going, "I know what you did. I know you're responsible for this."
I see. So wait, so is this, I'm not sure if you're, so is this explaining that the entire New 52 was like one of the experiments of Dr. Manhattan then? Or?
Yeah, 100%. He's saying that all the changes in the New 52, these subtle changes, particularly around Superman, were because of Dr. Manhattan's experimentation. That somehow, when Barry Allen went back in time and like cleaned at the end of Flashpoint and fixed everything, because let me put it this way. Normally, if Barry Allen went back in time and stopped himself from saving his mother, it should have reverted back to normal. Mm-hmm. Now, what happened was I think it's explained that like during the reversion back to normal, Dr. Manhattan did something like that. I'm still trying to like figure out that timeline myself. Yeah.
He kind of took advantage of that opportunity. Maybe like the timeline was unstable, and Manhattan could jump in there and switch things up.
Yeah, actually, I don't necessarily think all of it was Manhattan. I just think most of it in terms of Superman and the whole thing about them losing 10 years of their lives, which is why in like Batman New 52, it's like he's been Batman for like 3 to 4 years, but he has like 3 Robins and like all the Batman stories happened.
I see.
So it's like, how would that work with the timeline? And then Geoff Johns is like, oh yeah, Dr. Manhattan just took 10 years from everyone. So basically, this is explaining basically why the New 52 Superman was so different. He was so isolated. See, he distances himself from humanity. In a way, Dr. Manhattan is why Superman ended up with Wonder Woman. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Blue Jesus. And then Manhattan sees another image of the future of Superman punching him. He goes, either Superman destroys me or I destroy the multiverse. He doesn't know what happens in the future. So we see again with the movie, and then now this is also cutting to into the actor's life, where Carver Coleman is actually killed by his mother.
Yikes!
So anyway, and then you have a Dr. Manhattan. Let me see. So anyway, and Superman wakes up from his poem. From his coma. Jeez. It's been a long week, okay, people? Jeez. I had to do schoolwork on an iPad. So obviously this is Batman saying, don't launch the nukes. So he stops that from happening. And then this is showing Wonder Woman combating all the metahumans at the UN. Black Adam shows up and fights Wonder Woman, and the Amazons are like, okay, so we have to go grab Wonder Woman because she's going to be very injured. Our Oracle told us so. So they go and kidnap Wonder Woman. That happens off panel, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And then Lex Luthor takes Lois Lane to LexCorp. He basically, and then it's cutting back and forth, so I'll try and keep this as possible. Superman gets up and starts getting dressed. They're showing about how the world's in chaos right now after what Superman did in Russia. And then, so this is, and then also Vet is talking to Jane Doe, and he basically, it'll be explained in a second. So what's interesting is that Lex Luthor holds up a picture of a man and a woman. That man is Dr. Manhattan, pre-Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, like the human.
Yeah, because what had happened with Dr. Manhattan, here's his origin. He was a scientist that was conducting this science experiment that, actually, so here's what happened. So I think he was a physicist, and he was, so it's this classic story where like he leaves like his wife's watch in the chamber with all the atoms. He walks in, and before he can get out, the door closes and the experiment happens, and he gets exposed to all these particles that turn him into Dr. Manhattan.
I see. And somehow he just becomes like ultimate life form, just like that.
Because the comic said so,
I guess.
Now Lex Luthor is saying everywhere Manhattan goes, this picture shows up. In other words, that's his footprint. He's like, somehow these are linked. And it turns out Lex Luthor has been going to all these locations where like something happened that had to do with Dr. Manhattan. Like he was there when Wally West came back. And again, there was a picture on the ground. He goes here and he sees, here are all of these aberrations. He's collected every single picture that's appeared from a Manhattan-like incident.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, I love this. So in the Hall of Justice, a couple of soldiers walk in and go, Superman, you're coming with us. They're aiming guns at the Man of Steel. And I'm like, what is that going to do?
Oh, man.
So anyway, and then you see, all right. So let's see. So, and you see Alfred is making Rorschach some more pancakes.
That's nice.
I think. Oh no, Alfred is just making pancakes because Reggie has quit being Rorschach because he found out what happened to his father.
Mm.
And then Marionette and Mime pop out, and then they flash back to when Dr. Manhattan showed up. They're basically recounting the story so far. So Ozymandias is talking about how when he went in the computer in the Gotham library, he started doing research on all the superheroes, and he goes, this is a weird world, and it's about how many superheroes there are, because there weren't that many superheroes in the Watchmen universe.
Right.
So he goes, okay, I came up with a new plan on both worlds. So the world's belief in Superman was holding it together like string and chewing gums. We're saying the one thing holding the world together was Superman. Now, in order for things to change, they must hit rock bottom. So what if I could turn the world against Superman? In my search, I discovered the Superman theory to be, in fact, partially true. After Superman's arrival, the government had begun experimentation in an attempt to create its own metahumans. These confidential programs were led by Professor Martin Stein.
Hey, wait a second.
And later caused the accident that bonded him and student Ronnie Raymond into Firestorm. And then let's see what else. He wanted the heroes to find to go to Dr. Manhattan, because Ozymandias' plan, once again, is to make Dr. Manhattan want to come back and save his world. Right. In front of the White House, by the way, is Black Adam, and then Black Adam's like, you have one chance to step aside, Superman. And Superman's like, of course not. So here's the thing. So remember I said this aberration. So Ozymandias goes to I remember her name, Saturn Girl. He goes, should you? She goes, I've seen the future. It exists because of Superman. He's like, wait a second. If you're so important to Superman, tell me, does he remember you? And she goes, well, no. And then she disappears. That's what happens. As soon as someone does not remember you, you lose your anchor to this reality.
Man.
See, you're no longer part of this timeline. You just didn't realize it. So Superman is in the middle of battle against these supervillains. And then he finally comes face to face with Manhattan. We're finally at that point.
Yep.
Because trust me, if I went in depth into every single part of this story, I could be here for like hours. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm giving you the essential plot points. This is Lex Luthor, by the way. Finding so one of the yeah, you know what that is. This is showing that also found near a Manhattan site was a picture of Flash of Two Worlds. Like the actual incident. So apparently there was a conveniently placed brick wall between these realities. All right, so we're finally at Doomsday Clock number 12. We're at the last issue.
Man,
are you ready,
12
lad?
issues. All right, let's do it.
This is the really key issue.
All
right. So as you know, we're at this point. Superman meets Dr. Manhattan. He goes, okay, so who are you? And he goes, okay, I'm the one you're going to destroy, or I'm going to destroy everything. He goes, what are you talking about? And then Superman is accosted by the Russian superheroes who showed up, and Black Adam superheroes at the same time.
Oh, man. I
remember, Superman is weak to magic. And what powers Black Adam?
Magic.
Exactly. So I have Rorschach, who's being beaten up in Gotham because it's Gotham. Alfred shows up and saves him and then goes, hey, you need to be Rorschach. You can define who Rorschach is.
Pancakes. Master.
Look at I know. Look at this just awesome spread.
Oh, man.
This is such an amazing. Once again, Gary Frank killed it on this story.
That is sick.
So you're seeing the world's basically not going so well. Batman shows up and he goes, hey, listen, man, I should have paid attention to you in the beginning. First off, I'm sorry for throwing you in Arkham Asylum when we first met.
I do that to everyone. It's a force of habit.
Don't worry, it's the first time. I tried to do it to Clark. Don't worry, we laugh about it all the time. But anyway. And then what's interesting is that, so a car is thrown at this mom and kid, and then Superman catches it, mirroring Action Comics #1.
Oh, okay.
And then, first off, Superman's like, why aren't you helping these people? And then Manhattan's like, oh, well, I don't help you. I've already seen what's going to happen. And then, and you also have, so Lois, so Lex Luthor explains that, okay, so Lex Luthor's like, what do you have to gain by telling people? So here's why Lex Luthor took Lois Lane. He goes, I want you to write an article about everything I just told you. She goes, well, what would that accomplish? She goes, to tell people I was the one who uncovered this. I want credit for my work. I'm like, nice. Lex Luthor has not changed.
Yep.
And he grabs this vibrational emitter. That'll be important later on the story.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is where Batman basically says, hey, listen, man, yes, Rorschach started all. Rorschach killed your parent, killed your father, but you have the capacity to make Rorschach whatever you want it to be. You can define who that hero is. Well, hero is a loose term, but you can make Rorschach a hero. I was just thinking, right? No one really in the Watchmen universe really qualifies as a superhero. Let's face it.
Yeah.
From what I've told you. So this is a key point. Dr. Manhattan confesses and he goes, listen, I'm the one who's behind the changes in your life. I'm the one who basically who basically killed your parents.
Oh, man.
What are you going to do? Are you going to destroy me? And Superman looks like he's going to punch him, but it turns out he punches Polaris before he could kill Dr. Manhattan. And Manhattan's like, why did you defend me? He goes, Superman goes, I don't know what to think about this, but I do know that right now you have a choice to make. You talk to me about, you talk about me destroying you or you destroying me because all you see between this is nothing, but maybe there's a third choice. And then he sees that the photograph, and this is the first time Dr. Manhattan is noticing that with every step he takes, he leaves that photo of him and his wife.
Mm.
So he goes, you created those photos with every step she took. I assume she's important to you. And he goes, I was. And he's like, maybe the darkness you see, maybe it takes everything you have to save your world. Maybe you have that choice to save your world. And then Superman, okay, so here's what happened. Manhattan's like, first off, Manhattan saves Superman, and he goes, yes, I understand now. Everything ends. And then the world ends, and then the story ends.
Huh.
That's it. Story's over.
Wait, what?
Just kidding.
Man.
I've been waiting so long to pull that joke.
I thought you were serious. Yeah, I was like, because I just saw a lot of black panels and stuff.
Yeah, in the store when I first got the comic, I'm looking at this and I'm like, there's something wrong with my comic.
Oh man.
And I realized, oh yeah, in the context that makes sense. I love how you see these everything like dissolve, and then the last thing to go is the Superman S. So anyway, it cuts, and now we're seeing this new timeline. We're seeing Krypton blowing up. Dr. Manhattan goes. It begins with a child. The metaverse forms around this one and only son. It's too dangerous for you to show yourself to the world. So now we're seeing the Justice Society being reforged. Dr. Manhattan goes back and essentially creates the situation where the Justice Society is formed. And then instead of saying, don't become a superhero, that they'll be scared of you because I've never seen anyone like you, Pa Kent actually says, when I was a boy, my father told me stories about the Justice Society of America, wartime heroes who made us feel safer and inspired us to do our part. But that was decades ago. So if you're telling me that you're ready to get out there and show everyone what you can do, well, the world is ready too, Clark. And then the same scenario happens where the parents are sideswiped by the truck, but before they hit the tree, Superboy saves them.
Oh.
And if Superboy exists, the Legion of Superhero exists.
Mm-hmm.
So they're back. And then we're seeing the world is reforged. The Legion ring is back. Johnny Thunder's back. Everyone's back. So Superman is getting like destroyed. All of a sudden, all the supervillains back off. And all of a sudden, it's like all these legions are like, the Legionnaires are like, you remember us, don't you, Cal? And he's like, of course I do. And then Jake Garrick's like, sorry we're late, son. And then Cal is like, better late than never. Then we get this awesome image of the
Avengers
Legion.
Assemble.
Exactly. It's the Legion and the JSA teaming up with Superman. And I see this. I read this for the first time, and I'm like, Goeff Johns done it again.
That's really cool.
Keep reading. He fights. And then this is where the multiverse starts to change, because now we get, so Earth 1. So he's talking about how... First off, Dr. Manhattan says, for the first time, I am inspired. Wow. And then he goes, it's April 1938. Metal whines as Superman lifts a 1937 Ford in his air, revealing himself to Metropolis. And it's talking about how, like, Barry Allen is struck by lightning. And then that incident creates Earth 2. Mm. And then Earth 2 is born. The Crisis on Infinite Earths happens. And now here's the way the multiverse changes. Earth 1 becomes Earth 1985, which is everything before Crisis. I think before Crisis or after. But the point is that now the different DC eras now are their own Earths.
I see.
And it's all revolving around Superman. In other words, he's not the most important superhero in DC just because he was the first. It's because the multiverse ultimately revolves around Superman.
Wow.
This is where you have, like, now the new 52 continuity is perfectly preserved on its own Earth.
I see.
I'm like, thank you so much, DC. And then this is kind of funny, because then Goeff Johns kind of gives us a loose roadmap on what could happen in the future. Like, it's the year 2020. Superman's timeline is bombarded by the reckless energies of the old gods. Once again, warping the metaverse. Death metal.
Oh, is that like they were hinting already at that before?
I think this came out and this ended in 2019. So, oh yeah, they had this story. They had these stories. Death metal was written back in 2016. I think they were starting it, because what they did, according to Snyder, is that they started work on death metal as they were working on metal, because they knew eventually where they wanted this to go. So in other words, that's what I think Goeff Johns like alluding to. And then it's July 2nd, 2025, a crisis unlike any the metaverse has ever seen. One that will call the Time Masters erupts. And once again, Superman is revitalized and his greatest allies return. No matter how many times Superman's existence is attacked, he will survive. Even if change is a constant, because hope is the North Star of the metaverse, and Superman is the personification of hope. It's January 2026. The timeline is restored, and Earth 5G is born. Well, 5G is not happening. We've already addressed that. And it's June 17, 2026. Superman goes on a quest to find Bruce Wayne's lost daughter, and she can save Bruce's son. Now, listen to this one. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
On July 10, 2030, the Secret Crisis begins, throwing Superman into a brawl across the universe with Thor himself and a green behemoth stronger than even Doomsday, who dies protecting Superman from these invaders.
Wow.
Okay, read that and tell me, what do you think that is?
The Hulk, maybe?
Marvel crossover, man.
But it, like, saying that they're planning, or just like...
No, it's not planning.
Just theoretically.
Theoretically, it's like that's what they're going down there. It's like,
I see.
In its wake, Superman's timeline shifts again, and you see all these different time periods. It's Superman coming back, Superman returning, and then also this is where we established that Diana Prince was in the Justice Society of America during World War II. The legions show up, and then Vet's like, I did it. I left for you to find and give his wife no doubt, according to plan. Okay, so then all the Watchmen characters congregate at the Washington Monument because Manhattan just plucks him out. He goes, I know what you did, Ozymandias. And he goes, Once I learned about your vision of Superman and Superman himself, it was rather simple initiative. If I couldn't convince you to use your powers to save the world, I was certain he would. All I had to do was arrange a confrontation. So in other words, his plan was he knew that if John met Superman, Superman would just inspire him to restore his humanity.
I see.
And it worked. And then what's so great is Lex Luthor shoots a comedian with that vibrational gun, which sends him back to Watchmen, except it sends him back to the exact moment he was taken from, which is falling out of his apartment building. So the comedian dies.
Oh, wow.
And this is Rorschach going, hey, listen, man, Rorschach is me. I'm going to define who Rorschach is. And then Marionette and Mime are sent back. Dr. Manhattan shows up with Carver, and he goes, listen, man, I'm not going to be around anymore. But he's like, listen, I haven't been a good friend, but I could see so many futures now, and I make a good choice. Okay, so don't be afraid. Everything's going to be well. So then, as it turns out, history is redone, and Carver Coleman comes out as gay. He pioneers a good gay acceptance in Hollywood. And then what you have is all the superheroes come back from Mars and restore order. Apparently, Martin Stein's arrested, and then they're basically wrapping up, and they're talking about how they want to form more superhero teams because, again, heroes. And then you see Clark Kent picking up his parents at the train station because, remember, in this new continuity, they're alive.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're back in the Watchmen universe. And then you see as Dr. Manhattan starts to walk around, you see stuff is starting to grow in this desolate wasteland. And then you see the Watchmen universe starts to pick up because now, and then Dr. Manhattan eventually, so Manhattan takes Marionette and Mime's baby, and because what originally happened is that Marionette and Mime's baby, after it was born, was taken from her, and she never saw it again. It turns out it was our good friend, Dr. Manhattan, that took the baby. Now, you may ask why. Turns out that, so he gave his powers to the kid, and the kid, and he goes, so John said I can come over here. And so he goes to, I think it's Marionette and Mime's house, or it's like Marionette's house, but basically it's someone else's house. And she goes, the child answers the door and goes, hey, my name is Sally. What's yours? He goes, John calls me Clark. So Dr. Manhattan's plans, the reason why my universe is so screwed up is because it doesn't have a Superman. So basically he takes the kid, raises it, gives him his powers, dies, and then sends the kid to live on Earth and be Superman.
I see.
And that's the end of Doomsday Clock.
Wow.
So what'd you think?
Yeah, pretty intense. Yeah, had a lot of history built into it, and just definitely a wide range of characters that they really pulled into the air and just really reset everything for the DC universe there, eh?
Kind of reset it. They they sort of reorganized the multiverse and restored a lot of Superman stuff. And a lot of DC history, because once again, that's why I say Goeff Johns is like a lore junkie, because the Legion of Superheroes, he brought in the Legion, he brought in very obscure characters into the story. He brought in the JS. He knows all the old time guys. He knows how to take all these old concepts and put them in a story so they work well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that is currently tied with a Dark Side Wars, my favorite DC story, because ultimately what it does is it establishes why there's always a Superman. Because ultimately the universe revolves around hope. And who is the personification of hope? Superman. And that's ultimately to the point where it actually hit harder hit closer to me because, as I mentioned before, I've spent a fair amount of time in the hospital. That's why I got so into DC Comics, because there was a time period where I almost wasn't around. I almost didn't make it. And I remember no matter how bad it got, there was always Superman to basically make me feel hope. So in other words, I felt what Dr. Manhattan felt right there. So when I read that issue, I got a little teary-eyed because that really hit home.
Yeah, that symbol of hope, that bright red and blue and yellow S.
Because when you think about it, Superman was face to face with the guy who just confessed to killing his parents, and he didn't and he saved his life. Because Dr. Manhattan was about to be punched by Posar, whatever the heck that guy's name was. But he saves him. He goes, listen, right now, I don't care. You have a choice to make. You can help this world, or you can just, you have a choice to make, and you can make that choice to be a better version of yourself. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Jeez. But, yeah. So, and then another thing I liked is that I always wondered what would happen if the Watchmen and DC Universe collided, because they were really hitting on that, because the Button is the one that from the Button storyline that Batman finds in the Batcave, that's on that's a part of the comedian's uniform. Like somehow before he died, that Button with the blood on it from when he was beaten up was transported to the DC Universe.
I see.
But yeah, so any final thoughts on Doomsday Clock?
No, it's just really, really kind of jam-packed comic book storyline that really just hits like every single note that you wanted to, and just really brings it all together. You know, it's not just like a story that's on the side of the, just happening on the side of other events, that this is like the main event of like the entire continuity right now, or at the time.
You could kind of say it was a very big event, one that was built up to since Rebirth, which was about 2016. Wow. But yeah, it was bananas, because at first I thought, when I saw that like Dr. Manhattan and Superman, they were marketing it like they were actually going to fight, and I was like, well, that battle's over. Manhattan's going to destroy Superman. Like, as much of a Superman fanboy as I am, even I can tell you, I'll pick my battles, and that's not what I want to fight. When he saw Manhattan, he reformed the multiverse.
Yeah.
But and ultimately, it really shows like the power of Superman, because he took someone who had no humanity. Because Manhattan was not thinking about the consequences of the morality of when he was conducting his experiment. He was just treating it like they're lab rats. But then and then he's inspired by Superman, and he goes, oh my gosh, I got to turn this back to normal. Geez, so that's Doomsday Clock, a pretty amazing DC storyline. They did a great job with it. How about that Gary Frank art with all those pages of like those big battles, and like with the League is like hammering Manhattan, and he just reforms.
Yeah, some of those panels were really sick. Just seeing it all together with just like the double spread of the whole battle scene going on with almost no text on it usually. Those were really nice, and I like that some of the dynamic that Batman kind of was on the side, but he had an important thing he was doing with Rorschach. You said
Rorschach, not Rorschach.
Rorschach, yeah. The mask guy.
Mask guy. Dude. Let's call him Mask Dude.
Mask Dude. Yeah, I liked how they had their own side thing. Batman's so important. He's such a main character. He gets his own side storyline during this entire thing.
It's all about Batman versus Rorschach, Dawn of Pancakes.
Yeah, seriously though, when is Rorschach is he gonna get those pancakes or what?
I have no idea, but yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. It's definitely like there were a lot of characters in this storyline, but oh my gosh, I'm like, could you have like put Are you sure there's not anyone else in that giant encyclopedia that you didn't put in here?
Yeah, I know,
I'm like,
right?
come on, man. Even Aquaman showed up, but I just love that image of the entire league is just pounding him with like lasers, and like and Manhattan's just standing there. By the way, if you notice, the panels were in 9-panel grids. That's a reference to the original Watchmen comic, because that's how it was laid out in the original comic. That's
Oh,
why
okay.
that's why they kind of laid it out. It's an homage to that, because it's a Superman story, but it's also Watchmen 2.
I see. Like, so Watchmen was just like a limited run comic book line from DC or from another print?
It was by an independent author that was published by DC, and they actually got into some contractual issues. But the point is, it was, I think it was published. It was written by DC artists. Let me put it that way.
I see. So it was just
it was written by Alan Moore, and he's the one who revitalized Swamp Thing.
I see. Okay. So I thought that these guys were like a long running series of multiple, different comic book lines. So this was just like a Watchmen was just a couple issues or something like that. That's it. Maybe like a year or two.
I think it was like 12 issues. I don't remember exactly how long the actual comic was. Yeah, but they didn't show up that much. Exactly.
And I know of the movie that I guess that's based off of that comic book line there. So
they had some small like prequel stories that would be released every now and then for each of the Watchmen characters, but they never had like a full-on sequel to what happened in the actual storyline.
I see. Interesting. So, and Manhattan was like a big part of the storyline then?
Oh yeah. The storyline shows shows his origin, shows his motivation, because at the end of the Watchmen comic, he is like completely done with humanity, and he goes, I'm going to go to a new universe. I'm going to try my hand at creating, which is why when I heard that line in the movie, I had originally thought, oh my gosh, are they going to establish that Dr. Manhattan actually created the DC universe? But then it's like, no. But I'm like, I like this a lot better.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that they really pick up that storyline all this time later. I didn't know that they had been gone for so long, that they basically did like a sequel to that storyline, and so that's really cool that they did that.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's like it's an interesting way to bring in to reintroduce characters that haven't been in like DC like full continuity in like ever. And and this was the first time it's actually shown up in the same world as our people.
Right. No, that's right. Yeah. I was thinking that it's kind of crazy that they would, they're bringing back these characters just to reintroduce them, but they decide to have like such a huge event for it, and basically like, restructure the entire, DC universe, or reorganize it during that event with them, is like really kind of crazy that they would kind of trust the Watchmen characters to actually, be popular again, I guess.
And what I liked is I like the way DC handled Doomsday Clock, because I always felt, so when Rebirth happened, they started to slowly erode away the new 52 continuity, because there were some changes people didn't like and all that stuff. But I'm like, throughout the entire thing for 3 years, I was like, you have the multiverse, just put it on another Earth. And then they just they basically said, okay, and that's it. They have all your different eras have their own Earth, which I think is the best decision they could have made. And luckily, the multiverse as it stood is restored, so that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, even in Death Metal.
At the end of Death Metal, they save everything.
I see. Yeah, no, it definitely had some really cool moments throughout the entire comic book. And, the fact that it's 12 issues works well with the whole clock, like ticking down to the, I guess, the end there, that final fight. And it had some really cool panels altogether. Like, the action scenes were really cool,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all those little fight scenes. It is like so dope. I was like, this is the greatest thing of all. This is why it's one of my favorite stories, because like I love how they have like all these really elaborate, like, because you notice Gary Frank had to draw like a lot of characters, particularly that scene where where he's charging in with the Legion and the other superheroes.
Yeah.
And it's like he's drawing like so many people, and I'm like, this is so dope. It's essentially they did the end game moment.
Yeah, basically.
I was like, this is so. It's like reading the storyline. They did so much stuff I like. Like I like one of my favorite scenes where we have that meeting of all the bad guys, and the comedian just shows up and just shoots everyone.
Yeah, what was that about? Yeah.
I think he was tracking Marionette and Mime, and then he just shows up. He goes, screw it, boom, boom, boom.
Wow. And I guess the bad guys came back to life when Manhattan reset it or something.
I guess.
Because, I mean, those bad guys always, Riddler and stuff like that, they're always around, aren't they?
I guess so. But yeah, so I definitely, I also liked how this wasn't really a crisis because the multiverse was not going to get blown up. Well, kind of, but let me put it this way. It wasn't like, it was really just save the Watchmen universe and undo everything you did with DC and save the multiverse.
It was really dramatic, but it wasn't like a crisis where it's like, super cosmic battle of good versus evil forces. No, it was a really small scale. It was a very emotional battle between, it was like a mind battle kind of going between Superman and, and Manhattan. Sorry, my mind blanked on me. Mr. Blue Guy himself.
What did you think about the whole concept of the Superman theory?
That's pretty cool. I like that like the world revolves around Superman. Even though it should revolve around Batman because he's Batman.
Because I'm Batman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt it was actually kind of cool because I wondered why so many of the superheroes that are like the Justice League, so many of the big superheroes are just all North America.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. I mean, I know we're the greatest country on earth, but I was like, why are all these superheroes showing up only here?
Yep. So that was kind of a cool explanation.
Mm-hmm. And I love how Lex Luthor's motivation for giving Lois Lane all this information is, I want you to tell people I'm the one who uncovered it. I want credit.
It was me.
That's so Lex Luthor. I love how the Joker's just there for like an issue and then he's done. Like he plays like no role in the story, really.
He just wanted to cameo real quick in because he's the Joker.
Joker Lee cameo.
Yeah.
And what you think of the characters of Marionette and Mime?
They were kind of interesting. I didn't really know at all about them beforehand, but they were pretty cool. Me neither,
because they were created for this story.
Oh, okay. And they're like from the Watchmen universe, or supposedly. Yeah.
And what do you think of the way that they blended Watchmen with DC?
I thought it worked. They made it work. Sometimes I when they do a crossover between a different universe, it doesn't. It could be weird, but I think that worked really well. I guess DC, at this time, DC was super dark anyway, so it kind of matched. Not that different. Yeah.
Because Goeff Johns has always written stories that kind of critique that whole dark attitude in comic books. In fact, that was his impetus for doing Infinite Crisis, because that whole idea is like all these Golden Age heroes, which is like Superboy Prime, Superman from Earth 2, Lois Lane from Earth 2, are seeing all of the Earth Prime superheroes and going, you guys are dark. I mean, Wonder Woman, you're snapping Max Lord's neck. What is going on here?
Yeah.
You guys are not acting like superheroes. That was also the impetus for Kingdom Come, which we actually we have to cover that story soon.
Yes.
But so yeah, that was Doomsday Clock. Hope you guys enjoyed that summary. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be addressing some superhero games. Like we're going to be going through the storylines of Injustice in our next episode. And I'm going to because the comic book series is so long, I may do a little bit of I may split I may do like, I'm trying to think what I could do. Should I, well, you can ask me this. Should next week's episode be the Injustice comic series, and then the next DC episode be the game story? Because the comic series is pretty extensive. I mean, we can always see where we get to if we start with the comic book series in the next episode.
Yeah, that's kind of, because I mean, I guess if you want to do it like chronologically, maybe you cover the comics that, especially the comics that, where most of the comics spent, like beforehand, during the Injustice games. They're all before, eh? So
all
maybe
before, they're all prequels.
Okay, so maybe it could be kind of cool to cover all the comic section first in their own episodes, and then we can preface it, and then you can actually cover Injustice 1, Injustice 2.
Good idea.
Maybe put a little gameplay in or something. I don't know.
Actually, so the way it works is that Injustice comics, Injustice 1 game, Injustice 2 comics, Injustice 2 game.
I see.
Because trust me, it's a weird universe. And then our next Marvel episode, we will be talking about the storyline for the Avengers game.
Okay, that could be pretty fun. That'll be fun.
And then after that, let's see, what Marvel story should we cover? We might do the Winter Soldier, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, because I have that trade. Or we might do like, actually, you know what we should do? Let's do some Venom comics.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah, because I have one of the trades, and we can just fool around with that. That'd be cool. Yeah, we might do that. So we have a lot of good content coming with you guys. Like I said, we have the YouTube channel where I do a news show. Lad occasionally hops on. And then obviously I'm going to put this on YouTube because we have our cameras and everything, and we have the visuals. So if you're listening to this on Spotify and you want to see some visuals and see the panels as we look at them, see the brutality of Doomsday Clock,
you go back and rewatch the whole thing because you forgot to watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Rewatch on YouTube, and then it'll have like, and then it'll be screen shared with all the Watchmen stuff that you can watch and for all your viewing pleasure. And then, Lad, always a pleasure co-hosting with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was a lot of fun. A lot of cool stuff. You're educating me. I'm not as versed in the comics, so you keep me up to date.
That's what I'm here for. It's basically this podcast is story time with Jared.
Basically, yeah, and I'm the audience.
In fact, so Lad, didn't I get you Flash Rebirth for Christmas? What you should do is you should read that, and then you tell me the story.
Yes, maybe that could be something that I do as an assignment, like try to run a podcast episode. I'm not sure if I'm old enough to do that yet.
Maybe in the summer, so you have time to read and actually like digest the story.
Yeah, that could definitely be something that we do down the line. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely do that. And yeah, so and once again, also on the YouTube channel, we have our Knights of Mandalore YouTube show where we talk about Star Wars. In fact, I have an episode where my friend Charlotte goes in depth into Mando culture. She talks about like all of their tenets of their society. It's like it's like a 2-hour discussion on Mandos, and a little bit on the like Jedi Sith debate and all that. Peace of light is only passion and all that stuff. And let's see, what else do we have? And then I'm trying to get the Halo show up and running. It's just I have to wait for Logan because he has a work schedule. And then yeah, we appreciate you guys paying attention to us as we tell stories about fictional characters. Hope you guys enjoyed this riveting tale from the DC multiverse. Well, actually main universe, but still. And have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye. Stay heroic.
See ya.